Hello and welcome back to Novel Gaming.
I'm Doug.
I'm Katie, and we played the 2022 role-playing game, Citizen Sleeper. If we were to give a one-sentence description,
Sure.
What would be the sentence we would give? What would be your one-sentence description for this game?
Yeah, I would probably say that it is a dice-based visual novel that takes place on kind of an old, actively revitalizing space station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you?
I would say that this is a very text-based game.
Oh, yeah.
Where you play as a kind of clone, where your original kind of body and consciousness has been sold to a corporation.
Yeah.
Just that kind of dystopian flair I'd like to, toss in, really.
Yeah, it's got a lot of different sci-fi subgenres, but before we get too deep into that, I didn't fully know what I was getting into, and I do think the first hour or two was a big adjustment. One, because it's it's very text heavy. I don't think it would describe itself as a visual novel, and I don't think a lot of people would, but I do think it's a good thing to sort of have in your mind, because so much of it is just reading. But it's really engaging. It's really, really fascinating. And then getting to know the mechanics was a bit of a learning curve for me, because I've never played a game like it before. I've never played a game where I've played game with dice before, but I've never played a video game where your actions are determined at the start of a cycle based on dice rolls. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'd never played a game like this either. I have played visual novels, I have played text-heavy games, but I have never played anything with this dice mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for folks who have not played this game, or how does a dice mechanic work in a video game, unless it's Yahtzee.
Right.
How the dice works is at the end of each cycle, which is basically a day, you wake up and you are presented a specific number of dice based on how much energy you have. And the dice you get are the dice you get, unless you unlock something later on that lets you re-roll.
And thank God for that.
Oh my God, for real. But there are different actions around the space station that you can take that the higher dice, the more positive outcomes. The lower dice, the more negative outcomes, like losing energy or being one step closer to being found out or something like that. So you can choose different actions, but if you have just a bunch of low dice...
Yeah. So you might have rolled a 6 and you're great, I have 1 6, which means there's one action I know I guaranteed will be great at. And then if you have 1s and 2s across the board, you're okay, now I have to be more strategic. What things am I good at where I can boost these 1s and 2s? So what you can actually do in the game might be determined by how well you roll before you even start deciding.
Right.
You also kind of get into a rhythm after a while when you have multiple different stories you can pursue, or different characters' tasks you can pursue. This game calls them drives. You have different drives, and some of them have those timed event things. You kind of get into almost a task management sort of mindset where you're okay,
absolutely,
I need in the next 2 days to go do this thing while I'm waiting for this other thing to be available to me.
Right.
And it sounds like it's really a lot to keep track of, but it really wasn't too bad. I do think the game's interface and how they track things made it easy enough, because you can choose which drive you want to be working on, and you can check it, and they will indicate things for you that are related to that particular drive or that goal.
Yeah, it was. I didn't use the drive tracking stuff as much as I do in open world games and things. And I think a large part of it was there were just some storylines I wasn't as interested in pursuing. Yeah. So just whatever. I don't care. I'm just going to check back into my usual haunts. I know where I can find these people or where they say they're going to be or anything. So
yeah, no, I think that's an important note, because one of the things, I kind of went on a journey playing this game, right? Like there were different chapters of my experience playing this game. The first one was the like, what am I doing? Because you really do have to I think if this game sounds interesting to you, if the mechanics sound appealing to you, I do think you should set aside a couple hours for your first session. Because you just want to be able to take in how everything works, so you don't have to relearn things the second time you sit down. And then chapter number 2 for me was sort of like figuring out what I had to do versus what I didn't have to do. Because I found myself being like, oh, it's a thing I can do, so I think I should do it, or it's like blinking, so I gotta go address that. And I kind of got into this chaotic mindset where I was like, I don't know if I'm doing anything right because I'm doing everything. And then the third sort of chapter for me was realizing I can say no in this game. I don't have to pursue any drives I don't want to. And that actually kind of liberated me in a way that ended up having me do almost all the drives that were available to me anyway, because when I pursued the ones I wanted to, I would end up with timed events, and I was like, okay, well, I got to fill my time while I'm waiting to do things I want to do. I guess I'll check in on these other ones I kind of put on the back burner.
Interesting. We're not going to talk with spoilers and stuff yet. We will probably in a little bit, but I don't think
we necessarily agreed, talked about it, but clearly we're doing all the mechanic-y stuff first.
Coming later. I got to credits, and I still had a lot more stuff drives left, so I continued playing because there's a DLC and everything too. But there are certain drives that I'm I don't know if I'm even going to explore that. And because of how little, what was it, chits and energy and dice I sometimes had, whenever I had that time in between, I was just I got to work at the bar to make money so I can afford medicine. Part of the gameplay mechanic is that you need to maintain yourself. You need to maintain your condition with medicine or with scraps, and that requires money or high dice rolls and a skill. And so I was constantly, especially in the beginning and middle of my experience, struggling to stay in a good spot.
I think that's very fair. I think one thing that's really important for folks to know is that your ending or your hitting the credits can happen at varying times for different people's experiences. And I hit my ending, and while the credits were rolling, I said, oh my gosh, I just hit an ending, and I wasn't expecting for it to be an ending. I was genuinely surprised. It went back into the game after the credits, and I was like, wait a second, I think I just got faked out. And so I got an ending, kept playing, got another ending, and I will be able to continue playing. But I do suspect that there are some endings that maybe don't result in that, because some of the choices I made because I felt it would allow me to continue playing.
Same.
There were some where I was totally if I choose this, I'm not going to be able to do anything else, right?
Yeah, same.
Should we get into some spoilery stuff?
Yeah, so I guess we're going to start talking about less gameplay, more characters, story, setting stuff. So if you don't want to know any of this, stop playing this and go play that.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, where should we start? Was there a specific place you wanted to start with?
Well,
info?
Yeah, I want to ask you what you thought of, this is sort of premise stuff, but you got kind of into it. The idea that you as the protagonist are something called a sleeper, which is basically an emulated mind. So you have a human being that's basically being stored somewhere, or preserved somewhere, and their mind has been emulated into essentially a robotic, but kind of more advanced than just a robotic body, and then is sent off to work. And so a lot of the story revolves around how people react to you. What did you think of that as sort of the inciting bit?
I really dug it. And a thing that I think is important is that when you kind of sell yourself into this, or not everybody has a choice and they kind of have to do this thing in order to survive in some way, shape, or form. And so I don't want it. It
sounds like some people are maybe tricked into it, which is horrible.
Exactly. And the company that kind of runs this this scheme, this kind of like indentured servitude, makes the advanced robot bodies require the medicine that they create, so that way sleepers cannot escape. If they escape, they will break down and die, right? So like, it's like extra shitty.
Yeah, it's extra shitty for that. It's extra shitty because all of them have, I think, trackers built into them. Like,
100%.
They sleepers, which are these emulated minds inside of inorganic bodies, like have residual memories from their human lives. And your protagonist like ruminates on whether that is accidental and suffering or intentional and suffering, but like either way it's suffering. But also comforting at the same time. Like, some of the concepts in this game are really sort of like deep, sort of existential sci-fi thought. Very like
anti-capitalism.
Love it.
Because one of the things that made me want to say no to some of the potential things that I thought would give me a credit, like an ending, was the community that I was building on Erland's Eye. I was like, hell no, I don't want to leave this place. Like, I'm building my family here. For me, there was this very, I think, clear intention about this dystopian place and this way that companies are acting, and then the kind of citizens you meet, right? And the connections that you can build and how you can help each other out. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, you're presented with people who have like very different ideas of not just whether the corporation is like beneficial to their lives, but like if they don't think it is, how they believe we should go, like we as the community should go about tackling that problem. So like there were some characters where I was like, I agree with you philosophically, but I don't want to like go along with your plan because I think it sucks. You know what I mean? So it puts you in like some pretty interesting positions for that reason, and I love that.
It's a real thinker.
And there's like things happening to other characters that are sort of like, that feel very existential sci-fi that aren't specifically sleeper things. Like one of the first characters I really wanted to get to know is this character named Emphis, who is like a cook. Like he's a chef, and I didn't know what was up with him, and I wish there were more, but I almost appreciate that there isn't. But basically, like, the idea is that he's like this cook and you share stories with each other. Like you exchange stories for meals and he sometimes will share stories back. And then I don't know how much you went through his story or if you got like his background, but then you get to his background. Oh my gosh. Like then you get to his background and you realize like it's a whole other sci-fi thing where it's like a company installed a bunch of hardware into my body because I signed up for this job. And then it turned out the equipment was faulty and sucked and was like ripping people's limbs off, and then we had to like run away because we also had signed ourselves away to a company. Like, that one was one of my favorite kind of drives. And I just liked that he just wanted some mushrooms, you know? He just wants some mushrooms to make you a good meal, and then we could talk, and then we could sit in silence with one another. I thought it was so beautiful the way they wrote, like, basically just like, and it was nice to just exist together in silence. And I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. It has some like really gentle moments. Well, a lot of gentle moments, but like some particularly gentle moments sandwiched in between some like pretty horrific thoughts. It's so good. It has so many interesting concepts and a lot of cool characters, and like the visuals are cool. There's not a lot of movement on screen, but
it's like beautiful, and the
oh my god, the art is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, and the music is so
good,
nice.
And the like ambiance is so good. Cool art, cool story, cool music, cool mechanics,
and so many characters we haven't talked about yet. So
yeah, the vast majority.
You didn't get it all. Thumbs up for this one?
Yes, thumbs up.
Yeah.
You?
Big same. Huge thumbs up.
Hell yeah.
If you want to hear a longer version of this conversation, check out the link to our podcast episode in the description below.
And feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Thanks everybody for watching. Bye.
Bye.